AEW and New Japan present Forbidden Door, and it sets an AEW record $1.2 million gate. But did the show live up to the hype? We'll discuss it. Plus, WWE Money in the Bank live from London this Saturday. Some big time matches, some big time things that could change the landscape of WWE. We'll give our predictions, our thoughts, and so much more. Let's not waste any more time. It's a big show. This is the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. The bomb drops now.
All of you friendly, nice, amazing people.
Oh, hi everyone. We love you so much.
That's the best.
It's TSF.
This is it?
Hunter Knott.
Oh my God.
And you're listening to the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast.
Thank you, TSF. Hello and welcome to episode 28 of season 4 of the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, a show that is for the fans, by the fans. I'm your phenomenal host, Mr. Podcasting Chris Belcher. With me, as always, is the young buck, Andy York. And Andy, we had a loaded show last week. We got a loaded show this week, because that's what happens when WWE and AEW decide to put pay-per-views in back-to-back weekends. We get loaded shows, man.
Yeah, I can't believe that we're getting this many shows back-to-back, and then just wait till All In, All Out, and I think there's a WWE pay-per-view like right after that as well, so we're getting like 3 weeks of just absolute craziness at the same time. We've talked about it before. This is normally like the slow period in wrestling, and I don't think that's true anymore at this point.
No, it's not. And you know what? The way that wrestling is going now, I was listening to Sam Roberts, and now he's talking about, and everybody's talking about, it's not just Sam, but I listened to that earlier today. WWE setting attendance records everywhere they go, and merchandise records, and wrestling is hot from a WWE perspective. And you've mentioned it several times how you feel like AEW is finally catching their groove again. They set this big gate. We're heading to Wembley. We could be in a situation, Andy, where if this continues, we might not have a dead period in wrestling anymore, like anytime. It could be 7 days a week, 365 days a year, all year round. You got to keep up. There's no downtime.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's as good as it is now, if it continues to stay as good as WWE and AEW have been over the last like 2 months, I don't think I'm ever going to get burned out on it either. So I'm fine with it. Let's keep running while everything's hot. I'm sure every company goes through highs and lows and booking and everything else, but while everything's good right now, I'm going to enjoy it.
Yep. Let's ride that wave just as long as we can. And we're going to be sticking with you right here on the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast to keep you up to date on all the news, all the happenings, give you our opinions, because we've got a lot of them. You want more of those? Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at PBW Podcast. Andy is at Andy_PBWP. And I am at Chris Belcher 24. This show is available wherever you find your podcast, Spotify, Google, Apple, all those places, as well as our YouTube channel. So subscribe at your platform of choice. Leave us a 5-star review, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, all those things. We would appreciate it. Don't forget our partners, Wrestle Buddy and Sports Wire Radio. They would appreciate your support. I know they put out great products. So, you like us, you're going to like them. I promise you. All right, Andy, old school 101 this week. We didn't go too far in our Wayback Machine, but this week, July the 1st, 1999, we've been talking about debuts a whole lot recently. This guy didn't debut on July the 1st, but WWE announced on their website the signing of Chris Jericho to the WWE after his WCW contract ran out. And man, the only thing that I can take from this specific date, because again, he didn't debut until August with The Rock. I think it was the beginning of August. The only thing I can take from this, imagine if they hadn't announced this ahead of time. You know what? Like, I know you're trying to get some viewers and some readers online and all that, but why announce it ahead of time? But this is the anniversary of it.
Yeah, it's crazy that they did that they announced it ahead of time. I feel like that's something that didn't happen as much back during that era. I think it's more. It doesn't happen a whole lot today either. Like unless it's like internal and it's not a big name like Adam Cole and Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, for example, the AEW. Like we had ideas that they may show up there, but we didn't know for sure until the music hit and they walked out there. Like that, it's one of those that we didn't expect. That AJ Styles, when he went to WWE, nobody expected that until he showed up. But with Jericho, and again, I was like 2 years old when this happened, so this is all you talking about it. Jericho was great in WCW, but I don't think he was like a huge deal.
Right.
It wasn't like Hogan showing up in WCW or anything like that.
Right.
Him signing with WWE, I don't think, unless I could be completely wrong about that.
Well, from a fan perspective, it was because he got in WCW, he got over with the fans, and the fans wanted to see him rise up the card and become a star, but the suits and ties, or the leather jackets, if you will, did not want that to happen. They wanted him back on his, back in his spot in the mid card, having the good matches, but nowhere near the top of the card. So he never got his just due. So I think that's why fans were excited to see him go to WWE, because they thought he would get used in the right way. And what better way to debut him than put him in the ring with The Rock? Now, you look for the first probably year that he was in WWE, he struggled a whole lot. Like struggled to really find his place, adapt to the wrestling style and that sort of thing. But once he finally did, he had a Hall of Fame career in the WWE, and the rest is history once he finally figured it out.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things, or one of the best ways to get like a foot in the door, is your debut, I feel like, and his is one of the best and most memorable debuts of all time.
Sure.
Coming out to the Rock, coming out and confronting The Rock, all this other stuff. The only other person that really did that was Goldberg. So that's that's kind of a big deal when you're two of the only people to debut against somebody in WWE, and that somebody is The Rock. That's a really big deal. But you look at his career, and literally the greatest at innovating himself and keeping up with the wrestling world, not dying on the old school hill necessarily, but like knowing when to change, knowing how to change. My first introduction to Chris Jericho was the suit wearing, slow talking Chris Jericho, which is one of my favorite versions of Jericho. The infamous promo of him and Shaq when he's talking about, I heard the greatest Laker of all time was going to be here, and I expected Kobe Bryant, not you. Like, just amazing stuff, absolutely amazing stuff. And then like to see him do what he did in his later run with WWE with Kevin Owens and the list and all this other stuff, to then going to New Japan and doing all that stuff with Kenny Omega and Tetsu Naito and a couple other guys, to then like shocking the wrestling world by joining AEW in America, which nobody thought Jericho would be a part of any other wrestling company than WWE. So he's been really good at making sure he stayed as relevant as possible in the wrestling world.
And yeah, absolutely. And all those things combined just makes him a first ballot Hall of Famer whenever he decides to hang up the boots. And I think it's a situation where as soon as he retires, like it doesn't matter what the length of his contract is or whatever, like WWE is going to reach out and make a deal and be like, listen, get here now. We want to put you in the Hall of Fame now. Because he's kind of gone back and forth over the years about if he would want to end his career in WWE, if he wants to end it in AEW, how he wants to do it. I think all that is still very much up in the air, and Jericho is very much an open book when it comes to that stuff, open-minded rather. So if the situation was right in WWE, I think he would have no problem going back. But I think the longer and longer that it goes, the tougher it is for that situation to be right, if that makes sense, because of how much creativity he has and all those kind of things.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be shocked either way. Like whether his last match was in AEW or in WWE, neither one would absolutely shock me. Right. I would be completely shocked if he, like as soon as he retired, if he didn't just immediately go into the WWE Hall of Fame. Like that would be really shocking to me. And now that Triple H is in charge,
especially because they did the freaking Broken Skull sessions with Chris Jericho when he's in AEW.
exactly, and they talked about AEW. So
Exactly.
like I think especially now that Triple H is in charge, I think it's like a no doubter that as soon as he retires, maybe even before he retires, he could jump in and he'll join the WWE Hall of Fame. Absolutely a headliner. Like he's, to me, he is Rey Mysterio, Undertaker, John Cena, Triple H level of when he retires, he is the headliner. No doubt about it. And I'm not looking forward to that day at all because I love Jericho so much, and he's gotten older, and you can tell when he wrestles, but he's still stupid entertaining when he cuts a promo and stuff that I don't care. Like I love Jericho. I want to see more of Jericho.
Well, that you brought up the comparisons, so I'm going to bring up the question because it was in my notes to bring up, and yet again you led me right to where I wanted to go. So thank you for doing that without
You're
knowing
welcome.
it. Is Jericho on the Mount Rushmore professional wrestling?
See, the Mount Rushmore discussion is so difficult. It's so difficult, especially in wrestling, because there are so many different categories you can do a Mount Rushmore for.
So I'm going to give you the category right here.
Thank you. Okay, that will make it easier.
Here's your category. Overall Mount Rushmore. The complete package of wrestlers. Wow. Overall Mount Rushmore, is he on it?
There's so many guys.
There are so many guys. Yep.
Personally, it would be hard not to put him on that list. Like, it would be hard not to have him be on the Mount Rushmore. Yep. Just because not a lot of guys have done it as long as he's done it and stayed as relevant and at such a high level.
Correct.
And so I feel like total package, I think when you think of the total package in wrestling of someone who can talk good, someone who looks good and can wrestle, he has to be on that list.
I think he falls just outside of the top 4 for me. Yeah. Like, if I'm looking at my top 4, it's probably Hogan just because of what Hogan's done. It's Shawn because I'm biased and I'll never take him off Mount Rushmore. Sorry, I just am. It's probably it's probably Steve Austin. You have a hard time not putting him on it. Yeah. And then my 4th, the one I'm really sticking to recently when people have asked about Mount Rushmore, is John Cena. Like, I have a real hard time taking Cena off. I think I'd put Jericho at like 5, Ric Flair at number 6, something like that. I think Jericho can sneak into that top 4. I think for him, he is just outside of it. And I think the reason is because when you look at, and you could say this for Shawn, this could be a knock against Shawn Michaels too, but again, I'm not taking him off. You look at Jericho's like world title reigns and you look at meaningful matches in his career, and those don't stand out as much as those other guys. So I think
then again, though, he beat The Rock and Austin in the same night. So like it's very difficult because I feel like for me, my top 4 would be no order, but Flair, probably Shawn, Jericho, and Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, because I think when you look at the body of work that Danielson has, they've named an award after him, and he's still wrestling, and he was like 7 years into his career when they named the award after him. So it's hard not to have him. Shawn, like you mentioned, to me, Flair is like, when you think of wrestling and like a superstar, a wrestler, the first person I always think of is Flair.
Yeah.
And then obviously Jericho, because we've talked about him. But on the outside would probably be Austin and Cena. Not a huge Hogan guy. I think Hogan's wrestling keeps him way back. But then you go watch him in Japan, and he's like, oh, he's not that bad. But he just didn't do that in America.
Crazy stuff. No, it's ridiculous.
Everybody in Japan is just better, apparently. If you go to Japan, it just gives you some extra boost.
I know. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the crowd not distracting you. I don't know what it
Maybe.
is. But July 1st, 1999, the signing of Chris Jericho to WWE really kicking his career into that overdrive gear, sending
Yeah.
him into a first ballot Hall of Fame. Not that he wasn't great before, but a WWE career sent him over the top. All right. Speaking of Chris Jericho in his current home of AEW, let's talk about Forbidden Door, man. What a show it was. A lot of the superstars that we thought we were going to get at last year's Forbidden Door that we didn't get for one reason or another, we got them on this show,
Yeah.
and nobody bigger. Man, I said it in our preview, and I'll hold to it. The match could never have lived up to the expectation. I'll go ahead and say that. But Bryan Danielson and Okada, an incredible main event. Bryan Danielson picking up the win is great for Danielson because I don't feel like he's gotten any huge staple wins in AEW. So I'm glad that he got this win. But I did not see it coming by submission, man. Okada tapping out like, whoa.
And like, the finish, and this isn't necessarily a knock against the match. The finish came out of nowhere.
It did.
And I think that was the thing that shocked a lot of people is like, it took a minute for everybody to realize he tapped because like Okada he's like Cena. He just doesn't tap. And the fact that he tapped is crazy.
Yep.
I agree. The match it had unreachable expectations.
No doubt. No doubt.
It would, especially after a match that happened early in the night, which we'll talk about. It had everything stacked up against it, but it still was a fantastic main event. And it was still one of the best matches of the night, one of AEW's best matches between those two guys. And the exciting part about it all is I don't think we're done. I think we might get one more. I wouldn't be shocked if we don't run this back at Wrestle Kingdom this year. And I'm excited to see Danielson in Tokyo Dome because that's going to be fun. But yeah, I was not disappointed with this match. I don't think it hit the expectation, but it did not take anything away from it for me.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it definitely is still held in high regard, especially the fact that we learned that Danielson legit broke his arm like 10 minutes out of the match, wrestled 15 to 20 more minutes, finished the thing out. They get to the media scrum. 6 to 8 weeks will be fine. It's no big deal. And then we see the X-ray on Instagram this week. It's like, no, it is not 6 to 8 weeks. We gonna be
for a
out
little bit.
While we gonna be out. Begs the question. You mentioned it. Maybe we run this back at Wrestle Kingdom. Is he gonna be ready for Wrestle Kingdom?
Wrestle Kingdom's in January,
so we're less than 6 months away. We're less than 6 away.
Yeah, I feel like he could be potentially. It just depends on recovery and everything else. Because I'm so used to Cena being like, "Yeah, I'm out for 10 months," and then a week later being back. I'm like, "Oh, I'm fully healed, fully healed, ready to roll." But yeah, I think if we can run this back at Wrestle Kingdom, then we're absolutely doing this again.
The crowd was so behind Danielson in this match. And I don't know if it was because he got the theme song back and that kind of amped everybody up, which I'm sure it did some. But man, as much of a heel as he's tried to be recently, I'm honestly surprised of how much people were behind him.
Well, I mean, because the thing is, Okada was getting massive cheers too. Like both guys were crazy over. Sure. I think at one point the fans were chanting both these guys, which is really like
I love when they chant both these guys. It's so fun.
But I agree. I think what happened though is Danielson's done a really good job at because he gets booed on Dynamite when it's dealing with the elite stuff. But this wasn't about heel versus babyface. This was who's the best wrestler in the world today. That's what that match was about. And I feel like that doesn't need your stereotypical heel versus face. People were just there to see a great match, and they were behind him for that.
Yep. Yeah, they definitely were. We saw some stuff go down, speaking of the elite and the BCC this week on Dynamite. We'll get to that in just a minute. A shame that Bryan is going to miss the Blood and Guts match that was announced. A shame that Bryan is going to miss the All In pay-per-view in London. Yeah. But Hopefully, like you said, we get him on the road to recovery. Maybe we get him at Wrestle Kingdom, and then we're off and running in 2024 with Brian. Who knows how long he's going to go? But yeah, I mean, absolutely these two. I'm just glad, man. Honestly, I'm not an indie guy. You know that. I lean on you for all of this indie information. I don't know who 75% of these guys are, but even as a guy who's not a huge indie fan, I'm so glad that we at least got this match one time, whether Brian was handicapped with one arm or not. I'm so glad that we at least got this match once, because I've said it before and I'll say it again, even after the match. This is truly one of the biggest dream matches in wrestling history. Not just indies, not WWE, not AEW, whatever. Wrestling in general, this is for sure top 5.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any other match right now that could happen apart from like a WWE AEW Forbidden Door as pay-per-view with a dream match to this level.
Correct.
For like independent wrestling fans, obviously, like you can still do Rock Roman. There are some other ones that you can do, but even then, like you're not there for Rock Roman for the wrestling. You're there for the story, the entertainment, all this other stuff. For Danielson and Okada, I don't want them cutting promos. I just want them in a ring with the bell ring and going at it. And I don't think there's anything that could hit that level right now of dream match of all dream matches.
I think the only one that could get close, and it wouldn't be the wrestling like you're talking about,
right?
But I think the one that could get close would be CM Punk and Steve Austin. Like that's probably the one that people look at and be like, "This is the one we just missed."
Yeah,
you know. So
and
I think it could get there, but obviously
maybe.
not in the in ring.
Right. I think the only one to me that would stick out that could potentially get there is possibly like Seth Rollins and Will Ospreay. I feel like that one could get there. I also think like Kenny and Seth or Kenny and AJ could absolutely get there as well.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Especially with the history with those guys and that kind of thing, for sure. But Danielson and Okada, like you said, we're probably not done. Hope we're not done. Definitely need to see these guys tied up one more time. And then Okada's going to win the second one. So guess what? Probably going to get a third one. And, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the 6-man tag. Sting, Darby Allin, and Naito defeating Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki. Finish was kind of weird in this match with Naito getting the win. It seemed kind of clunky there. Maybe they had to rush to get to the finish. I don't really know. But Sting's team picking up the win. Dude, the thing that stuck out to me in this match is what I texted you as soon as it happened. Sammy Guevara's cutter spot on Sting, where he landed on his head. Like, bro, be careful.
It's a rough 2 weeks for Sting. Sting's had a rough couple of weeks. That spot absolutely made me cringe a little bit. I can tell you my favorite spot of this match was Sammy Guevara doing his little break dance in the middle of the ring, Jericho, and then Suzuki just popping in. That was great. I love that version of Suzuki. This match was great. It wasn't, match of the night or anything, but anytime you get to see Tetsu Naito on American TV, because it just doesn't happen,
right,
is a big deal. And so just the fact that he was there was awesome. Plus, it's Sting and Jericho for the first time. So like that's also like a massive, massive deal as well.
Yep. And we got that a second time this week on Dynamite with Jericho and Sammy against Sting and Darby in a tornado tag match. Yeah. And that one was fine too, but like the big highlight obviously is Sting and his crazy bump where he busted his face and he's gonna need stitches and take care of his tooth. And bro, like my buddy Jason texted me after the match and he was like, listen, I need to see Sting's match knowing it's his last match, not that he's going to go out with injury again. Yeah. Like, come on. Let's be smart. We're 64 years old, Sting.
I'll say this, though. He, like, for a 64-year-old, it was pretty impressive that he was able to get as far as he did.
He nailed it. Like he nailed Sammy. I just don't know why the second table was there to begin with.
I think the second, I think it was there for over precaution of if he overshot it. Because having two there means safer because he can go through the other one. I just don't think they expected him to hit it perfectly. And he hit it. He hit it perfectly. It was you couldn't have done any better than what he did with one table. But if you had two tables, then it was a little rough.
Right. Yeah. It just like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm going to say this, and I don't want this to sound like I'm knocking AEW. I know I like to do that on this podcast, and that's sort of my gimmick. It's halfway a gimmick and halfway what I actually feel. This is one of those that I actually feel. Like, I feel like AEW is getting to a point where somebody is legit going to take a bump on television and legit really get hurt. Like, I know wrestling is, you're going to get hurt in wrestling, and that's just going to happen. But I'm talking like a stupid bump and get hurt.
Well, we kind of already seen that with Matt Hardy falling off the ladder and cracking his head against the concrete and then trying to continue to finish the match.
That's true. Yep.
Ray Phoenix with his arm during that one spot where he.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about Phoenix's arm. Oh my gosh. Yep. And then
Ring of Honor, you had
Danny Garcia's not Danny Garcia.
Dante.
Yeah, Dante Martin.
Dante Martin's ankle completely snapping in half. So like there are spots, and I agree. That's one of it's a double-edged sword because you get more freedom to do things that you're not going to be able to do in WWE or Impact, really. But then on the other hand, like that leaves more room for injury and leaves more room for risk. So speaking
of that, man, like we're going to talk about this Will Ospreay Kenny Omega match, the Tiger Driver move where Kenny Omega dropped on his head. Like to me, that move, I'm not saying Sting's spot was unnecessary. I think the second table was unnecessary, but we already covered that. But the Kenny Omega thing, like, I feel like that's the kind of move that is unnecessary. And if missed, like Undertaker has said, if missed by this much, like, could have been paralyzed in the ring, So it's stuff like that I'm like, that's just unnecessary.
Yeah, I completely agree because I don't think that spot was needed. I mean, it's one of the most memorable spots of that match, though.
Sure it is.
But it to me, it's like the equivalent of in Taker Shawn at WrestleMania 25, Taker doing the suicide dive with the cameraman and nearly falling on his neck. Like, was that needed? I don't think we can really answer that. I think that's up to them to decide. Because I think even in the media scrum, somebody asked Bryan Danielson about that. And that was his question, was like, what are these spots worth it? And he said, I can't answer that. You have to ask the two guys in the ring, was it worth it? And if you ask Kenny, he probably said it was, because that's just like, that's like asking John Moxley if he thinks bleeding is worth it. Yeah, it's absolutely worth it.
Right. No, I get it, man. And like, these guys know way more than we do, and they know how to protect themselves way more than we do. We're just, at the end of the day, yes, we have a podcast and we do this every week and we watch any and everything wrestling that we can and consume as much content as we can. But at the end of the day, they have more training. They know way more than we do. But just from my opinion and my outsider's perspective watching it, just like some of this stuff is just not needed, because I feel like the risk is way more than the reward. Like, I know if you hit it, like, it's going to be a crazy spot, but man, look at guys like Steve Austin and look at guys like Draws, and you look at guys like The Undertaker. I'll bring that one back up. You look at things like that and you're like, man, they also just missed by this much, or they hit it by just this much and it changed life, And
it's you're right. It's absolutely like a give and take, because if you look at someone like Mick Foley, he literally made a career off of that. Like, that was his career of, he played with the line of how much can I actually do before I actually get hurt.
Yep.
And so I don't think it was necessary at all. But then again, like, what's the spot we're talking about from that match?
Yep.
So it's it's just a difficult. But again, I think if you take that spot away from Kenny and Ospreay, you do not lose anything from the
Absolutely.
match.
You don't. Yep.
So
Absolutely you don't.
it's I think it's just depending on it just depends on your preference and what you think,
Yep.
and as the two wrestlers, it's what you think as well. So
It's their call at the end of the day. It's their call. It's the
Yeah.
producer's call. It is what it is. Speaking of Ospreay and Omega, let's get to it. Ospreay getting the win back after Kenny won at what event did he win at?
Wrestle Kingdom.
Okay.
Yep.
So Kenny won at Wrestle Kingdom. Will Ospreay wins here. So we're going to get it again at some point. Just don't know when, where. Will Ospreay, a fantastic match, dude. Like, easily the match of the night, and it just like was an absolute barn burner.
I thought their first one at Wrestle Kingdom was already like match of the year so far.
Mm-hmm.
And coming into this one, I think I even told you, like, it's going to be great. I just don't think it's going to be as good as the Wrestle Kingdom match.
Yep.
Yeah, it was better than the Wrestle Kingdom match. This so far is like my match of the year, and I don't think it's even close. And I don't think anybody's going to touch it from an in-ring perspective. I think it's AEW's best match in their history. I think it's
you're putting it above Cody and Dustin.
I'm putting it above Cody and Dustin and the Bucks, and I'm putting it above the tag match as well. The story, but there was a story behind it with Don Callis and Ospreay.
Sure.
There was drama behind it. Listen, the pile driver spot, the Tiger driver spot was nasty. But then also, like, before, when Kenny is literally getting his head smashed into the announce table, was just like, I texted you and said, this got physical and brutal quickly and out of nowhere.
Was it more physical and brutal and bloody than you expected?
Yeah, it was. But I think that added to it. Like, I think that's what that's what gave it the advantage over the Wrestle Kingdom one. Was this one was more brutal, but it also had the story with Don Callis and everything else. And it was just I'm not sure yet, but I think it's like it's one of the best matches I've ever seen live. Like, watching it, sitting down, seeing it live. Obviously, I'm younger, so I've missed a lot of the great matches in history. But it's like in my top 3 favorite matches of all time right now.
Oh, it ranks right up there. And I've watched wrestling. I tell people since I came out of the womb, basically, and I watched this match live just like you did, and like I was blown away. Like, I was even like doing some other things and looked away for some things, but like I can tell you, like, this was easily match of the night. Could easily be match of the year. I'll tell you what. I love Roman versus Cody at WrestleMania, but this was better than that. I have no problem putting this ahead of that. Let me just, and now that other one probably has the advantage a little bit because I was there. So I'm a little more personally invested, but you can't sit here and tell me that this match wasn't a better in-ring match than that one. Like, I'll say that.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think because we also thought that nothing was going to touch MJF and Danielson, their Iron Man match this year either. Well, then Kitty and Ospreay come out here and just deliver an absolute banger of a match. I loved I think it started off slow, but it had to because you couldn't start off doing everything that they ended up doing. And I know some people didn't like the Callis spot of him getting injected and come back out. I think that added to it. It added to that false finish of the Stormbreaker or the hidden blade into the Stormbreaker and Kenny barely getting his foot on the rope. And then
that was a crazy false finish. That was, man.
That one's the one that got me. Because if that would have ended there, I would have been like, this is a great match. But the finish, I'm not like, I wasn't a huge fan of that.
Sure.
But then Ospreay picks him up, plants him with the one-winged angel, kicked out at 1, and I popped so hard when he kicked out at 1.
You and the other 13,000 people in that building, like when he kicked out at 1, like I even looked at it. And when that happened, I'm like, okay, this match literally just went to another level because of the kick out at 1. Like it literally, I'm not a Meltzer guy and I'm not a star rating guy, but it got an extra star because of that. Like we're going somewhere now. It was crazy. So good.
Yeah. And it was one of those, like, my wife was almost asleep at this point because she falls asleep early. Sure. And, like, I popped, jumped up, and was screaming, and she thought something like she thought the house was on fire or something. And I was like, "Did you see what happened?" She's like, "I don't care," and she just went back to bed. But I lost it. I couldn't contain it.
Yeah, it was so good. For some reason, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't watched this match yet,
Go
I
watch it.
implore you, spend the $50 on Bleacher Report and go watch this match.
Yes.
It's probably the best $50 you'll spend all year long. I'm just
Absolutely.
saying. Let's briefly talk about Tony Storm and Willow Nightingale for the AEW Women's Championship. No Mercedes Monet, not Mercedes Martinez. Jeez.
She wasn't there either.
No Sasha Banks. Let's go that route. But Tony Storm getting the win. I mean, this match kind of was what it was.
Yeah, I think it was fine. Like it was a great showing for both of them. I think both of us thought there was no way Willow was going to win, but they did a fantastic job. They had a great match, and I really, I'm not a huge Saraya fan right now with what they're doing with her, but with Tony Storm and Ruby Soho, I think they are doing some of the best heel stuff in AEW right now. Like they're doing a great job, and I think you could throw Saraya in there too because people hate her. So and it's working very well what they're doing with her.
Well, I think that they're doing what we have said they've needed to do for a long time, and that is give a different layer to the women's division and elevate the women's division. I'm not saying Britt didn't do that as a heel, but just like we talked about in Britt's run in 2019, 2020, and 2021, like Britt was the standalone. Like nobody could get to her level. Well, now we have these girls that are heels. They've established themselves as big time main event players. So now we have somebody that is finally on Britt Baker's level. And I'm not discounting Jamie Hayter or, what have you, but we now have these ladies that are up on the level. Now we're getting something that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think Jamie could have hit that spot if she didn't get hit with this injury because the fans loved her. The fans were absolutely behind her, pushing it for her. I'm curious to see now where we go from here. I think we're obviously heading to maybe a Tony Storm and Britt Baker in Wembley. Because Britt and Ruby were supposed to wrestle this week, but Britt got sick because Adam got sick because Adam Cole and Forbidden Door just don't mix apparently together very well the last 2 years. But I think we might be heading there. I'm curious to see what happens when Jamie Hayter comes back. Because I think then we're really going to be running. Plus, you got Thunder Rosa, who's been all over the package and stuff for Collision, so she's going to be on there. So, there's no telling. We may be heading to Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in Wembley. You don't really know where we're heading right now, but it's the first time in a while in the women's division. There's a lot of options to do different stuff now.
And we haven't even talked about Ty Valkyrie. We haven't even talked about Jade Cargill, who lost the TBS championship. We haven't seen her since. And then you got TBS champion Chris Statlander. I mean, the AEW women's division, it's taken them 4 years, but we're finally in a spot where we have established stars, we're building stars, and the fans, I feel like, are legit behind a lot of them, and we're getting good matches. And like you said, it's unfortunate that Jamie Hayter went out when she did, but it'll only make it better when she comes back, I think.
Especially if she comes back at Wembley. Like, she will get a huge pop if she comes back at Wembley.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the 10-man tag. The BCC defeating the Elite. The BCC team Mox, Claudio, Yuta, Takeshita, and Umino against Paige, the Bucks, Eddie Kingston, and Ishii. And Andy, we said it. And what?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. We said it at Anarchy in the Arena. And it comes back up again. Wheeler Yuta gets the pin. It was not a fluke when it happened at Anarchy in the Arena, ladies and gentlemen. If you glossed over us saying that, it's come back around. He got the pin again.
Didn't the Elite win this one?
Did they?
I think Ishii tapped out Yuta.
No, I thought Yuta got the pin in this. Right?
Hang on.
Did that not happen?
No, I think Ishii got the win for him.
Are you sure?
Unless I missed something.
Unless I missed something. No, the Elite got the win. I'm an idiot, apparently.
Because I think Ishii either tapped out Yuta or pinned Yuta, one of the two.
Let's see what happens. Here, let's read on. Let's read ahead. Yep, Ishii pinned Yuta.
Okay.
Okay, well, guess what? We're going to leave that in the podcast so I can sound like an idiot. I'm not editing any of that out. I'll just sound like an idiot, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's fine. But I agree with you because he was like in the final with Ishii and put up a fight.
There's something to this Wheeler Yuta thing, win or lose. Okay, let's call it like it is.
Yeah, I think Yuta. I mean, with this whole BCC thing, I think Yuta is going to be the breakout guy from it.
Yep.
Which I think is very, very fascinating.
Yeah, because they're doing a good job of they're having Takeshita in there with them, but they're not saying that he's a member. You know, that was a question a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, Yuta, I say that to say I feel like Takeshita would be the guy if he was in the group, but he's technically not.
And I think at the end of this all, we might get the BCC turning more face and Takeshita being the guy that they're going after now or something after what happens at Blood and Guts or whatever the case is. I think Takeshita and Don Callis together is a really good pairing.
Because Takeshita mouthpiece.
Yeah, and if you're going to use a mouthpiece as a heel, it's like having Paul Heyman in WWE. You want Don Callis to be your mouthpiece for you. But the spot that got me in this one was Takeshita basically knocking out Ishii.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think the report was he actually got knocked out because he fell hard and was just completely out of it.
Yeah, this one was wild, man. And I'm glad that we're going to, we got Anarchy in the Arena with these guys. We got this 10-man tag. Now we're about to head to Blood and Guts. That got announced on Dynamite between these two teams. I assume it's going to be close to the same lineup. I don't know who the BCC will get as their fifth, with Danielson out. And I doubt that the Elite will have Ishii as their fifth. So maybe it's 4-on-4. I don't know. I don't know what the best route is for that. I assume Kenny will come back and be with the Elite. So I don't know. We'll see. Interesting though to see how this is all going to come about. I know that on, you and I texted about this earlier today on Dynamite with Claudio and Eddie Kingston, and their staring contest was just fantastic.
It was great. Listen, I just absolutely adore Eddie Kingston. He's one of those guys that on paper shouldn't work as a wrestler. Like people he just shouldn't get behind him.
Right.
For whatever reason. And the dude is just, I love the thing that makes him so great is he's not a character. That's just him.
Right.
And like the pairing with him and Moxley and like going back and forth at it and the stuff they did on Dynamite and then getting Renee involved in between them. Like I loved it.
Yeah, I love them getting Renee involved. I'm anxious to see like if that's a one-off or if they pick that back up somehow, because I think that'd be really good. Like you and I have talked about how WWE sometimes oversaturates couples and how AEW did a great job with Adam Cole and Britt Baker and picking their spots with that. And I think it's okay if they do Mox and Renee, because everybody's going to love Renee. I don't think they're going to boo Renee when she comes on to interview somebody. You know what I mean? No, I think it's cool to drop that in. I'll be interested to see where this goes, man. Blood and Guts in a couple of weeks. That a couple of weeks, 4 weeks, maybe
July 17th. I think that's what they said.
Something like that. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll talk more on that in the coming weeks. Something else we're going to talk about more in the coming weeks as we get more developments is the heel turn by Jungle Boy after losing to Sonata for the New Japan Heavyweight Championship. Man, I said Hook was going to be the one to turn. I didn't see this coming.
I didn't either, but I think it's a right call for Jungle Boy because I think he needs something different for him.
Yeah, I'm not ready to say that it's the right call because I think the jury is still out on how this is all going to work.
Right.
But I agree that we needed something different. I just think it's going to take him a minute to find his groove as a heel because man, that promo on Dynamite, I mean it was fine, but I don't know. I feel like it reminded me so much of the Becky Lynch promo after she attacked Charlotte when she tried. That's what it reminded me of.
See,
I'm not
I
saying
thought
job. I just
right.
we got to get there.
Well, with that Becky though, that was forced because the fans did not want that at all.
Sure,
Becky got the biggest pop of the night when she hit Charlotte in the face.
That's true. Good point.
Jungle Boy got UF'd up chance, which I think was I love that they did that. I think the promo wasn't the best promo in the world. Obviously, I think it was one of Jungle Boy's better promos, which isn't saying a whole lot. But I think once he gets comfortable in this character, it'll be great. I wouldn't hate if he got back with Christian Cage at this point.
Right.
And we got that back together because I think having Christian help him with his heel persona, I think that would be a great way for him to go. My favorite thing, though, of this whole interaction at Forbidden Door was Taz on commentary. Like, Taz sold this perfectly on commentary. Yep. And the stuff he was saying of, like, I'm a professional, I'm not going to get my 2 cents in, but he's a scumbag and he's going to get what's coming to him. Like, that was perfect from Taz.
Yep, I completely agree. And then, there was a couple shots taken on Dynamite as well during that promo and that kind of thing. So I'm like you, like, I think a change was needed. I think we need to drop I see now if the plan was to add Jack Perry to his name so that we could at some point drop Jungle Boy. Okay, I think now's the time we need to drop Jungle Boy. We need to just be Jack Perry. We need to figure out who this heel Jack Perry is. I think once we figure that out, I think he'll be fine because he's got the attitude. He's got the look. Probably needs to shave the chops and do something a little different.
Maybe like Wolverine.
Well, maybe grow them out. Maybe don't shave them. Maybe grow them out even more. I like your idea with Christian, though. I think that would be really good. I'm sure that's who's helping him behind the scenes, but putting that on camera would probably be good too. Here's another thing that I don't like about where we are right now. Again, willing to give it a chance, but I don't like that he's going after the FTW title. Like, I get that he's going after it to take it away from Hook because it means so much to his family. But I would be more inclined to believe him as a heel if he was going after a legit title, like something that can be defended, like Orange Cassidy or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah, I think because in his promo, he even said he's gotten screwed out of 2 championships with the AEW and then with the IWGP. I think, honestly, what I could see happening at some point is him beating Hook for that title and then just getting rid of the title.
Yeah, maybe.
Like the FTW championship just goes away because he doesn't want it. He just wanted to take it from Hook, and now that he's taking it from Hook, he just chucks it out the door or whatever. Right. I could see that happening. But then again, I don't really see Hook losing to Jack Perry at this point.
Which again, what are we doing with Jungle Boy as a heel then? Like, we turned him heel in this big moment only to lose. Okay, where does he go from there? You know what I mean?
It could be where he loses the Hook and then starts looking for that help again with Christian Cage or something like that. Yeah. So because he is failing still as a heel, he turns to somebody who he trusted, who turned his back on him, but now he sees that Christian was right in everything that he said. And so he joins him once again and goes from there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see where it goes because I feel like when you have a big turn like that, you need a big win to back it up or you need a big something to back it up. Yeah. And I'm like you, like I don't necessarily see them letting him beat Hook at this point. But Who knows? I have no idea. Speaking of Orange Cassidy, he retained the International Championship in a fatal four-way over Zack Sabre Jr., Shibata, and Daniel Garcia at Forbidden Door. I mean, Orange Cassidy, the reign continues. I have to say that I'm a little shocked.
I am too, but I'm not upset about it because I think I said it last week. He's had one of the best, if not the best, reigns this year as a champion. Just every match he's had for that title has been great. The dude just needs a break at some point though, because he's put on match after match after match that has just been
He's wrestling every single week. They've already advertised him for next week's Dynamite in this blind eliminator tag or whatever it is.
Yeah, so I don't know who takes that international championship from him. I will say though, the four-way was a lot of fun. Daniel Garcia is becoming a very fun heel. The dance, him getting hit and doing the dance move and stuff was just hilarious. And then I don't know if you saw it on Dynamite this week or not, but him and Keith Lee like jumped down to duck underneath him, and he just jumped on his back and started dancing. And I love this version of Daniel Garcia that we're getting. But that being said, I have no clue where we're heading with Orange Cassidy. Maybe we do a Darby Allin match at some point with Darby taking it from him, but who knows?
Yeah, I kind of miss the original concept where I feel like when Pac had the title that it was taken around the world and defended in different promotions and all that. And I just don't see Orange being able to do that or have done that. So I kind of like that concept. So I'd like to see somebody else with the title so we get a little more of that. We get the international flavor, and I know he's wrestled international guys and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I'm not saying he's a bad champion because clearly he's one of the hardest working champions on the roster. He's wrestling every week, like we mentioned. But I'm like you. I don't know what's next for the title.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
All right. CM Punk and Kojima. This was a match that was seemingly kind of up in the air. We didn't know who Punk was going to face. Lots of rumors about Kenta. That didn't work out for one reason or another. But here we are. Punk defeating Kojima to advance in the Owen Hart tournament, the only Owen Hart tournament match on the show. But it was the way to get Punk on the show.
Yeah, and the reaction he got from the Toronto faithful was very interesting, and I think the thing that Punk does so well is the thing that Cody struggled to do in AEW, and that is embrace that. Because if you look back at Cody, when he came out to a reaction like that, he just kind of did the John Cena thing of just kind of ignoring it. Cena towards the end of his career didn't ignore it and kind of played into it. But Punk just, as soon as he comes out, he's got this grin on his face that he loves every second of it. He's doing the Hogan leg drop and doing the ear thing to get the crowd riled up, and
so funny. Oh my gosh.
It's great that he does stuff like that. I love that he just plays into it because he knows some places he's going to be the babyface and some places he's not going to be at all.
Speaking of that, I can't believe we failed to mention, we were talking about Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. Ospreay's tribute to Shawn Michaels with the Canadian flag was just the absolute best thing I've seen on AEW television in a long time. I love this so much.
Yeah, and then Kenny gave the flag to the wrong kid, which was funny because he didn't see where it came from, so he just gave it to some kid in the front row that was yelling at Ospreay. That was a great moment in that match.
That's so funny. All right. The match that kicked off the show, MJF retaining the AEW championship over Tanahashi. Were you surprised they put this match on first?
No, I think it fits with MJF. He didn't want to be there, so he's going to leave. He just wants to go first and then leave.
That's true. This stuff that we found out, I guess it was last week that we found out that MJF and Adam Cole are going to be partners in this blind eliminator tag. And the stuff this past week on Dynamite, the interactions with them, I'm anxious to see how far they take this. This could be very interesting.
It could be very fun. I think MJF has done this a lot where he tries to be buddy-buddy with the guy he's getting ready to wrestle. Like he did with Sammy. He's done it with a couple other guys. But it works so well for him and the the Better Than You Bebe T-shirt has already been purchased and is on its way to my house now. And as soon as it happened, I bought it. Like as soon as it showed up on the AEW shop, I bought it because I love that shirt so much.
That's
And
so funny.
I love the pairing because MJF is kind of what Adam Cole was as a heel. Because like I feel like I could absolutely see Adam Cole the heel doing this, and so him knowing that and playing into it is even better. I also love on Dynamite when MJF looked at Roderick Strong and said, "Hey, generic white wrestler," and just kept moving. Like it was great.
It is definitely an interesting pairing. I love that you bought that shirt. That's fantastic. That's so good.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with it, how long they drag it out, and when we get the culmination of it, I guess, the world title match.
Yep.
So we will see. All right. 50-ish minutes into the show. Thank you guys for hanging with us. If you're just now checking us out, this is the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast, a show that is for the fans, by the fans. We're here for you each and every Friday, wherever you find your podcast, and on our YouTube channel. So make sure you go check that out. Make sure you subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, like the video. We would appreciate that very much. Make sure you're supporting our friends over at WrestleBuddy. Almost said our buddies over at WrestleBuddy. Our friends over at WrestleBuddy and our friends over at SportsWire Radio. I know they would appreciate it very much. Buy a t-shirt from us over at ProWrestlingTees.com/PBW podcast. And if that is not enough, if you can't get enough of Andy and myself, well, we have another podcast that drops on Tuesdays, the PBWF Pipe Bomb Wrestling Federation, our fantasy booking show with our buddy Mr. Tyler Peters. It is a lot of fun. It is not like this podcast in any way. So do yourself a favor, go check it out. It drops on a separate feed every Tuesday. We would appreciate you checking out that show very, very much. All right, Andy from AEW, let's go to WWE. Before we start talking about Money in the Bank, tonight, if you're listening to this the day that it drops, which is on Friday, on SmackDown in London, man, big show ahead of Money in the Bank. Got Charlotte and Asuka for the Women's Championship. We're going to have Logan Paul on the Grayson Waller effect. You've got Pretty Deadly challenging KO and Sammy for the tag belts. It should be a fun SmackDown, man. Looking like a big show. What are your thoughts on those couple of matches and what we're going to see?
Yeah, I think it's a massive show. I think this was a great way of utilizing the show before the show in a different country, with it being in London and being in England. I think that was a great way. Obviously, you wanted to have KO and Sammy somewhere on the card. You probably wanted to have Asuka on the card somewhere. So it was great to get them in these spots. I heard, I'm not sure if it's true or not, so you can let me know if you've heard anything about it or not. Okay. Is it going to be live?
SmackDown?
Yeah.
Now that I don't know. I bet they take.
I heard it's going to be live at like 3 p.m.
Interesting. Now let me look this up. Let's see here. SmackDown London start time. Is SmackDown on an earlier time? We're looking this up in real time, folks.
We are.
We'll be live in the UK. Okay, looks like it is going to be in the afternoon.
Wow. That's okay,
here we go. Here we go. No. Fans in the U.S. will have to wait and watch the shows. It'll be on tape delay and air at normal time. So they'll film it at 2 o'clock. It'll be over by 4, but we won't see it until
8/7 Central.
Correct.
Okay. Because I was about to say, if they do SmackDown Live, that's crazy that they're doing it on Friday, middle of the day.
Right.
Because I doubt a lot of people will watch it live then. But it's looking to be like a pay-per-view-esque worthy show for SmackDown. Because I think Roman's going to be there too. A couple other things I think I saw as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Do you think we see either of those titles change hands on
I think
SmackDown?
I said it a couple weeks ago, and I'm gonna say it again. I think Charlotte wins. Like her and a champion with a new title and a championship match. I always bet always bet for Charlotte because she hasn't lost one yet. I don't think so. I don't think this is the first one.
So do we head to Charlotte Bianca at SummerSlam or Charlotte Asuka Bianca at SummerSlam?
Probably Charlotte Bianca.
Okay.
Yeah, I think probably Charlotte and Asuka, and then whoever wins. My prediction for whoever wins the women's, because I'm not going to tell you just yet, so you can steal it from me. But I think whoever wins could cash in on Charlotte at some point, so Charlotte can go away for 2 months. They bring in a new belt, and she can go after that and try to win that one too.
Oh my gosh. If you had to put a number on the chances of Pretty Deadly taking the titles from KO and Sammy, what you got?
0. I think it's a 0.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to take those titles off of them yet, and I don't think until we get I honestly don't think they're taking the titles off them until we get the DIY match. Like
Okay.
I'm sticking to that belief. Plus, I think Pretty Deadly will get a good pop when they come out, but then when Kevin and Sammy come out, they're going to be over probably more. And
sure.
I don't see Pretty Deadly. Roman and Sammy and Kevin just beat Roman and Solo. I don't think they're going to lose those titles anytime soon right now.
I tend to agree with you, but I also put the number higher than 0 that Pretty Deadly would win this match. I don't think it'll happen, so my number's probably at like 10, but it's not 0. I think there's an outside shot. We'll see. Excuse me, I don't know. All right, let's get to the card. Thanks to our friends over at Pro Wrestling Scorecards. We have the scorecard back after a 1-2 pay-per-view absence. Andy won
that long.
Yes, you have been champion by default because we didn't have.
I'm like Roman. I don't defend the belt.
Oh my gosh. Andy won the Backlash scorecard. So I'd won 3 in a row before that. We'll see how this one goes. If you want to play along with us at PW Scorecard is where you download the card. Again, we give different categories, different points for all the matches for Money in the Bank. So let's get to it. Again, if you want to play along, download it and then check back in with us next week and we'll tell you exactly how we did. We want to hear how you did as well. So at PBW Podcast and at PW Scorecards, I know they would appreciate you playing along as well. All right, let's kick it off at the top. Cody Rhodes and Dominic Mysterio. Before we go right into the scorecard, man, I have to say this. Number 1, Pharaoh debuted on Raw this past week, which was amazing. The pop that Cody got was amazing. But of all of those things, you know what my takeaway was from Monday Night Raw and Cody Rhodes? Was the fact that Cody Rhodes can quote Dr. Seuss and it get a pop. Yet Roman gets drugged through the mud when he says suffer and succotash. I just find that hilarious.
Yeah, Cody can also, rap before the SmackDown before WrestleMania and get a big pop as well. And most people couldn't do that. Poor Roman. That moment will never leave him alone.
It will not. No, it will not.
I hope whenever he eventually gets inducted into the Hall of Fame that he says it somewhere in his speech. I hope he says it.
I have a feeling that he will, because I feel like that was a point, and not to get too far down the Roman rabbit hole, because we got to talk about him here in a few minutes.
Right.
But I feel like that was a point in his career that he has stamped and been like, look, this is a turning point. Like this is, we're not going any further down this road than this. We're detouring, we're doing something. Because I feel like he hates it as much as we hate it, but he had to say it because it was written for him,
Yeah, and I think at the time, like, if Cena would have said that, we'd have been like, that's just Cena.
Exactly.
Like, Cena can get away with saying that stupid stuff. Cody Rhodes can kind of get away. Cody Rhodes was talking about a scorpion and a frog a couple months ago, so, like, whatever. But with Roman, I think people hated him so much
Right.
at the time because I was part of that crowd.
Yep.
That when he said it, it was like, this is the guy. Like, this is the guy you really want to push, and this is what you're having him say. So I agree. I think Roman from that point on made sure nobody brought that up again. And yet,
I think
or tried to make it to where nobody brings that up again, but it's hard not to.
it's hard not to. You're exactly right. I just thought Cody quoting Dr. Seuss and getting a just hilarious. All right, let's get to the scorecard, man. This has actually been a fun feud. Like it's not. It's Cody, the over-the-top babyface, versus Dom, the over-the-top heel. It's a fine pairing to bridge us in the Cody and Brock stuff, which we'll get to Brock here in a second, I'm sure. But let's get to the scorecard. Who are you picking to win this one, and what kind of fall type? I know it's not as cut and dry as I expected.
Because here's the thing: if this was just their feud and Cody wasn't in a Brock feud, I don't think there's any way Dominic wins.
Correct.
But I think there's a chance that Brock comes out and costs Cody. I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna pigeonhole myself a little bit, but that's fine. I'm gonna say Cody wins by DQ.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna say Cody wins by pin, but outside interference is. I mean, it's okay. I think Cody wins by pin, and then Brock attacks him after the match.
Yeah.
So we get a clean Cody win. Cody celebrates. Boom, here comes Brock.
I just feel like Brock doesn't care about, like, the Brock character wouldn't care about this match happening at all. So he just comes out and just F5s right away.
Completely agree. I think you and I can definitely agree. Brock is showing up.
Yeah.
At this event. He is one way or another. He is showing up to give a big pop to the crowd and that kind of thing. So I think Cody wins by pin, and then Brock attacks afterwards. All right. Yeah. Match over 15 minutes, yes or no? I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no as well.
Okay. First person to 3 near falls. A tie, Cody or Dominic?
I'm going to say Dom.
Me too. Crossroads. The number of crossroads in the match, the number they give us is 1.5. Are we going over or under? I'm going over because
0.5 gets me every time.
It does. You're right. I'm going over because we haven't seen the trifecta of crossroads in a while. So I feel like we're with that.
But I feel like they're saving that for Brock.
Well, they might be.
So I'm going to go under.
All right.
I'll go upset about it later.
Outside interference. I don't know. Let me see if there's any contingencies in the rules here at the bottom for outside interference. Because I wonder if outside interference means disqualification or if it just means Rhea can get involved and distract Cody, and that's considered interference.
That's what I took, because I could see like Cody shooting off the ropes and her grabbing his foot or something.
Yep, I agree with that. So I'm going to go with it.
I said yes.
What if Rhea gets involved? Well, we know she's going to. Let's
right.
Rhea gets involved. What if we see Brandy for the first time?
I could see that. You know what? I'm glad you brought her up, because I was thinking like what her reaction, like what the crowd reaction would be for her showing up. I'm curious to see what kind of reaction Cody gets, because we're in London.
It's going to be huge.
I'm not sure, because I think there's a chance that he's not going to get booed. I'm not saying he's going to get booed or anything like that.
Right.
But I feel like there's a chance that his reaction isn't going to be huge, like massive.
I think what he might not get the massive reaction he would get in the States, but I think what he might lack in reaction is going to get made up for because the people are booing Dom, so they know they need to cheer Cody.
Well,
so I think that's where you might get the makeup there.
And I think Busted Open pose that question of, is Cody getting cheered because he's so over right now, or is he getting cheered because Dom is so hated?
I think he's so over.
I tend to agree, but there's a part of me, and I think I have contemplated I might do it, posting it on a poll on Twitter just to see if, like, because I feel like he's lost a lot of steam and a lot of momentum to a lot of people. So I'm very curious to see what, because I don't really know what kind of reaction to expect for him. I don't think he's going to get a CM Punk in Toronto reaction, but I also don't think he's going to get a CM Punk in Chicago reaction as well.
Yeah. All right.
So
We'll see. Yeah. Well, this Monday he was in Georgia, so that was the CM Punk in Chicago reaction. So
right.
I get that. It'll probably be a little less than that, but man, look at the reaction he got in Puerto Rico. It was pretty wild.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. All right, let's move on to the Women's Tag Team Championship. Man, I was kind of surprised, honestly, before we get to the scorecard here. We had Liv Morgan return last week after the unification match on SmackDown. Man, I was kind of shocked. That unification match was actually pretty good. I was pretty entertained by it, if I'm being honest.
Ronda and Shayna are 2 for 2. Like they've done really well with those tag titles.
Yep.
But I think and I forget their names, so I think
Alba Fire and Isla Dawn.
Yeah, because I know Alba Fire by Kaylee Ray. But Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, they're really, really good. Like they kind of held down those NXT Women's Tag Team Championships for a while. But I think it was the right call to put them on Ronda and Shayna, because I think Ronda and Shayna are going to do a lot more for those titles than anybody else right now on the roster.
Agreed. So having said that, I don't think there's any way that Liv and Raquel win these titles back.
Nope.
I gotta go Ronda and Shayna in this one. Fall type for me is going to be submission.
Me too.
Because the next two categories is who makes the fall and who takes the fall. I think Ronda taps Liv out in this one.
I'm going to go Ronda taps Raquel.
Okay.
Because I think Liv might turn.
Ooh, okay, fun. That's a fun little twist. I like that.
So she can be mad that Raquel instantly found a new partner while she was out with injury.
That's a good point. That's true. All right. Interrupted pin attempts. 3.5 is the number. Over or under?
I think I'm gonna go under.
Yep, me too. I don't think this match lasts long enough to have 3.5 pin attempts that need to be interrupted. Submission rope breaks. This is an interesting one, I guess. Number is 2.5 on this one. Over or under?
It means there has to be at least 3 to break it.
Correct.
I think I'm going to say under as well.
Yeah, that's what I went with as well. Again, I don't even think this match lasts 10 minutes. So
that 0.5 though gets me every time.
The half does get us. That is true. All right, let's move on to the Intercontinental Championship match. Gunther and Matt Riddle. I mean, I feel like this match is kind of thrown together, kind of thrown on the card, not really thought about. But I mean, the feud is there. I guess it's interesting. Maybe it's just a feud by proxy because you can't have Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in there. They've really been the ones feuding with Imperium, not really Matt Riddle. But an interesting match. Nonetheless, I'm still going to pick Gunther to retain here by pinfall.
Yep, I am doing the same thing.
All right, match time. It's asking us to give an exact number here. We get the point plus or minus 1. Interesting. All right, what are we going to go with?
I think I'm going to say 17 minutes. Because I think they're going to give Gunther time in London.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. I'm going to go with 12. A little less. We'll see. Because you got to think, if we're running a 3-hour pay-per-view here, these top 3 matches can't last more than 45 minutes.
Right.
The world title is going to get some time, and the Bloodline match is going to be an hour by itself.
Plus the 2 ladder matches.
2 ladder matches are going to be 45 minutes apiece.
Yeah.
Maybe the women's might be a little shorter than that. We'll see. Anyway, okay, I'm going 12 minutes. Number of near falls in this match, plus or minus 1.
That means they get to the count of 2, right?
That means 2 count. Yes, sir.
I'll say 5.
I was going to say 4, but I'll say 3 so that if it's 4, we both get the point. Number of chops in this match, they give us a number of 10.5.
That's the easiest over, I think, on this whole thing right now.
Really? Okay. I was actually leaning under.
Because I think there's going to be a spot where Riddle tries to chop Gunther, and Gunther's going to chop him back. And
yeah, you're probably right. All right, I'll stick with the over on that with you. That makes a lot of sense. All right, Seth Rollins and Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. Before we get to picking on the scorecard here, man, that video package, Finn Balor on Monday night, does it not make you just want to cheer for Finn Balor in this match? As guys who have watched him the whole time he's been on the main roster.
Yeah, they did such a great job of calling back to things that I didn't even remember happened.
Right. Yeah.
And I love Finn telling the story of him getting injured, having to relinquish the title, and then Seth, because I completely forgot, Seth immediately came out and started laughing at him.
Yep.
And that has been Finn's problem with Seth the entire time. Not the injury.
Yep.
But him rubbing it in his face. So I think that's a great motivation for Finn, and it's a completely different outlook than I think any of us thought we were going to get from this. Mm-hmm. And it was done beautifully. The video package was amazing.
I agree. It was very good. And also following that up with the Finn Balor and Carmelo Hayes match on Monday Night Raw. Oh my gosh. So good. Who'd have thunk that we were going to get that on Monday Night Raw this week?
Who would have thought also Tuesday we would get the lone wolf Baron Corbin back?
I mean, my goodness. A lot of, and I failed to mention this up at the top, and I kind of wanted to, but I didn't. Between Dynamite and AEW, AEW is Dynamite and WWE, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, a lot of great wrestling matches happened this week on the regular TV shows. Forget Forbidden Door. The regular TV shows had some really good matches this week.
Yes,
man.
They did. Yes, they did. Honestly, because I know a lot of people aren't huge Baron Corbin fans.
Right.
But that match with Carmelo Hayes, you need to go out of your way to watch. It was really good. It was done really, really good. I think Baron Corbin's underrated. I don't think he's the greatest of all time or anything like that by far. I think he's just a really great heel who also has 2 of the best moves in wrestling.
Yes, he does.
With the deep six and the end of days. So I think he's not appreciated enough, but he's also not a main eventer, I don't think, as well. So I think he's a really good Miz level heel.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. All right, let's pick this World Heavyweight Championship match. I'm going to go with Seth Rollins by pin. Yeah. I don't think we lose the belt here.
No, I don't either. I think it'd be way too soon to.
I agree.
Take it off of him.
Which is, spoiler alert, I don't think Seth Rollins is getting cashed in on at this event.
We'll see.
I don't think it is. All right, again,
there's not a women's match, so it's not happening with the women for the first time.
Yeah, but if Brandy comes out and attacks Rhea, and then Rhea could get cashed in on with somebody bringing out a referee because we know she's going to be there. But you're right, it's not having a women's match, so probably not going to happen. All right,
it happened to Roman in the main event.
Well, we're getting there. All right, I'm going to say Seth by pin. I think you have the same match time, plus or minus 1. I'm going to say 22 here.
I literally just wrote down 22.
Love it. Oh, let's see if we can go with this one. Aerial moves plus or minus 1. I'm going 7.
Aerial moves count as springboard moves, though, too, right? And
That is correct.
topes
Yes.
and suicide dives and everything else.
From an elevated platform to somewhere below is considered an aerial move.
I'll say 8.
Okay. And the number of stomps in the match, they give us 1.5. Do we go over or under?
I think I'm going to go under.
I'm going under 2. 1 gets it done. Yep. I've let this thing get me too many times where I've said, oh, he's going to hit like 3 or 4. Nope. 1 stomp gets the job done, people. One of the most protected finishes in the biz. All right. You know what? Let's skip the Bloodline match. Let's come back to it at the very end. Let's go to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Bayley, Io Sky, and Trish Stratus. Man, a star-studded field in this one with some dark horses. But the stars that are in it, I don't know that any of them is going to win it, especially because Becky climbed that ladder on Monday Night Raw. I was like, come on, Becky. You're giving it away.
You broke the rule. You broke the rule.
Good grief.
The only one I could see, and the one I'm kind of leaning towards, not necessarily picking it right now, but I think Trish with the briefcase would be very interesting.
I do
think
too.
it would be very interesting to see what she would do with it.
Because that would be a way to get the title back on Becky, is that
Yep.
Trish cash in on Asuka or on Charlotte and get the title back for Becky.
Yeah.
I don't think she cashes in on Rhea. I don't think anybody cashes in on Rhea if they're smart, but that's neither here nor there. All right. You mentioned possibly picking Trish, but who are you picking in this one?
Well, I'm not picking Trish, even though I think she would be. I don't know if she'd be the favorite to win or not, but I'm gonna go with my gut. And my gut, even though I said Charlotte wins, my gut is that Triple H is a smart man.
Yep.
And not his father-in-law. And so Asuka retains, and Io Sky wins the briefcase. And we head to Io and Asuka at some point down the line.
That is who I'm picking to win this match as well. I think that the seeds are planted with the damage control stuff, and I think we need this briefcase to keep telling that story. I think Sam Roberts pointed out on his podcast that you can keep telling the Becky, Zoe, and Trish story without the briefcase. I don't think you need that. So I'm with you. I'm going to go Io Sky on this one. But the first person to climb the ladder will be who?
I'll say Trish.
That's who I was going to say. We're going to have this. We're all going to be right. First person to touch the case, I'm going to say that one is Bayley.
That's who I was going to say as well, but I will change it. My answer will not be Bayley. I'm going to go Becky.
Okay. Time before the person touches the case the first time. I think it happens early. I'm going to say 2 minutes.
I say 6.
Okay. Who is the first person hit with the ladder? Becky Lynch.
Yeah. I'll probably say Becky too.
How many times is the case touched in the match? Plus or minus 1? Oh, man.
I'll say 4. I feel like it doesn't happen a lot.
Remember, I was gonna say we are literally on the same page in this category. I'm sticking with 4.
We're gonna be complete. We're gonna be wrong We're gonna be wrong the whole way.
You're probably right. All right, who is the last person? This is an interesting one. Who is the last person to touch the case and then lose the match? Oh, that one's Becky.
I'll say Bayley if it's Io.
Ooh, good call. I like that. Good call.
I'll say Bailey.
All right, I'm gonna go Becky. Aerial moves in the match. We give a number. We get plus or minus 1. So Io's gonna do something. Becky's gonna do something.
Bailey will hit an elbow drop probably.
Zelina's gonna do something. That's at least 4. Somebody's gonna suplex somebody off. Bailey to belly, maybe.
That's a good call.
5, 6, 7. I'm gonna go 10. Give us a round number here.
I'll say 8.
All right. Most wrestlers on ladders at once. So that's not on one ladder, that is on ladder.
Right.
1 to 2, 3 to 4, or 5 to 6, because there's not 7 competitors in the match.
I'll say 3 to 4.
I'm going all the way to 5 to 6. I think there's a spot where they all 6 are on it at once. All right. A move from the top of the ladder. Listen, if I don't get an EO Sky moonsault from the top of the dang ladder,
Very true.
I'm not going to be happy. Let me just
I could also see Becky hitting a manhandle slam on Zoe from the top.
Oh, that would be cool. Yep. So I'm going yes on that one.
Yeah, me too.
Ladder broken. Rungs or the vertical rails? Yes or no? I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I'll say no as well.
All right. We pretty much we're pretty similar on that one.
Pretty much tied on that one.
All right, let's go men's Money in the Bank match. Ricochet, Nakamura, LA Knight, yeah. Santos Escobar, Butch, Damian Priest, and Logan Paul. A field full of nobody that's ever won the briefcase and nobody that's ever been a champion before. So, man, this one could be interesting. Let me throw a wild card in this. Wait, let me look on here and see if there's anything. Okay, there's not. Let me throw a wild card at you and just see what you think about this.
Okay.
There's been a whole lot of Bronson Reed activity surrounding this match and Ricochet and Nakamura and those guys. What are the chances that Bronson Reed pulls a Brock Lesnar and basically inserts himself into this match? I'm not saying maybe he wins it.
Right.
What do you think?
I could see him like taking out Ricochet or Shinsuke before the match and then taking their spot. I think that could absolutely happen. Or I could see him just coming out in the match and costing both of them to where they can't win it. I could see that more than him trying to insert himself into the match.
Yeah, because I just feel like there's been too much activity surrounding that
for there not to get involved.
Not be some sort of payoff. You know? All right. Other thing that I want to mention before we get to picking this. Did you hear Wade Barrett's comment on SmackDown on Friday?
I may have missed it.
Rey Mysterio and LA Knight.
I might have missed it. No, what did he say?
Okay. So here's what happened. So Rey Mysterio, is always known for his colorful gear and blah, blah, whatever. Michael Cole brings up something. He says, Wade, I hear that you helped Rey pick his gear out for tonight. Wade says, yeah, I picked out this awesome baby blue color, whatever. Rey approached me and I gave him my thoughts. And then Michael Cole says something like, yeah, that blue looks good on Rey or something like that. And Wade says, yeah, I think I did a great job picking it out. And I'm hoping after the match, he'll give me the mask and sign it. And then I can go put it on eBay. I literally almost fell out of my chair when he said that. It was so stinking funny because, he said that on purpose as to what all these wrestlers have been bringing up on social media recently.
Yes. Yeah, that's great. I love Wade Barrett on commentary. I'm so glad that they got him in some capacity, and that's great.
All right.
That's fantastic.
The moment that we have been waiting for to pick the winner of this match.
I don't think we're going to agree on this one.
We are not going to agree on this one. I can tell
No.
you right now, we're not. You know what? Absolutely. Like, I love Pro Wrestling Scorecards. Shout out to those guys at PW Scorecards. They do a great job. But I do not see a category on here about cashing in for either of these briefcases. It's very interesting.
It may just be because they're so used to it happening that they just left it off.
That's true. All right. Men's Money in the Bank. The winner is worth 10 points. Who are we going with?
Well, if you've listened to our podcast for any length of time, I've been saying this guy's name from the beginning, and I'm not wavering because I know you disagree, but I believe he needs it and should have it. And that is Mr. L.A. Knight. Yeah.
I am disagreeing with you.
Yeah, I figured. And the person you're going to say, I'm going to punch the camera right here.
Go ahead and get that fist balled up and ready because I am picking the Maverick, Logan Paul, to win this match. So before we keep going, do we need to have a discussion about this?
I'm not. I think there's a chance Logan Paul wins. I think there's always a chance Logan Paul wins.
Yeah.
However, and there have been some reports, so you can take it. It's a report. It's not a fact. So just take it with a grain of salt. That Triple H is not high on Logan Paul winning the briefcase.
Yep.
Which I can absolutely see, and I get their reasoning because it's publicity, and it's the briefcase will be on his YouTube videos and all this other stuff, blah blah whatever. But I think the question has to be asked, is it worth it to have Logan Paul be Mr. Money in the Bank?
Sure.
And will people actually care a month from now that he's Mr. Money in the Bank? Because we know he's not going to be on TV the whole time while he has the briefcase.
That's correct.
And I feel like that doesn't do a whole lot, especially because we've got one world champion on one show not showing up at all. You know, we've got a couple other people not showing up from time to time as well. So I don't think they want to put themselves in that position. With that being said, I'm not going to be shocked if he wins the briefcase. Right. I'll be mad. I won't be happy, but I'm not going to be shocked. Right.
Well, and you got to think too, it seems like if Io Sky wins on the other side, we're headed towards a babyface Io Sky because she's going to split off from Bayley. Probably going to get a babyface. Yeah. So we probably need a heel on the men's side. And let me just tell you, LA Knight is not a heel. No. And WWE is making a huge mistake if they keep going with him as a heel because it's just not working. And to me, I understand that the cash in is the moment. And the cash in basically turns whoever it is cashing in into a babyface, at least for that moment. Right. I get that. But I just don't see the scenario in which LA Knight is going to beat Roman Reigns for the title. I think it's possible. Let me just say that. I think it's very, very possible that LA Knight could cash in on Roman Reigns, and it could happen as soon as Money in the Bank is over with. Like I'm totally understand that, but I go back to what I said, 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. I despise the idea of him cashing in on Seth Rollins. I think that completely kills everything we've built with Seth Rollins. We just said earlier that it's too soon for him to lose the title, and I think cashing in just fits right into that category. I just think it's a wasted. Why even put the title on Seth Rollins in the first place after everything that he said, everything that he's worked so hard for, and now we put him in this position only to get cashed in by a guy who is seemingly going to be the biggest babyface in the company. Well, what are we doing with Seth Rollins, who is one of the most popular, biggest babyface in the company? I just don't think it's a good situation. I don't necessarily think that's the reason LA Knight shouldn't win, but I think that's all the more reason for Logan Paul to win.
Yeah, but my thing is, he doesn't have to cash in right away. He's got a
No, he
year,
doesn't.
so there's no telling if Seth will actually even be champion by the time he cashes in.
That's true. That's very
And so
true.
I feel like the payoff is worth it more for LA Knight than Logan Paul, because I don't think Logan Paul needs it.
Right.
Logan Paul doesn't need the briefcase. Logan Paul is his own thing. He comes and goes as he pleases. He gets whatever match he wants, blah, 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 whatever. When I think of Money in the Bank, I think of it giving someone who wouldn't get the shot without it. I mean, you think of Damian Sandow, who won it. Obviously, he didn't win, but it was a big deal when he won it. Dolph Ziggler when he won it. There's just a lot of CM Punk the first 2 times he won it.
Yep.
It just gives the guy an opportunity who otherwise wouldn't get the opportunity. And I think right now that fits what they've been doing with LA Knight, because if they've just been ignoring him for the last couple of months, leaving him off WrestleMania and all this other stuff to get to this point and then not give him the briefcase, I think it does more of a disservice to him than it does help him. And I also think that cashing in on Seth 6 months from now wouldn't hurt Seth Rollins at all. Cashing in on, Seth a year from now, I don't think would hurt Seth Rollins at all. I think LA Knight's going to be one of those guys that's going to hold that briefcase for a while, and it's going to be like a Big E. When Big E cashed in, everybody loved it. And I feel like as soon as they might take the belt off of Seth Rollins at some point down the line, and when they do, that's when you could pull the trigger on LA Knight winning the World Heavyweight Championship.
I can certainly see a scenario where he wins it by cashing in. I just, again, he is red hot right now.
Yep.
And I think, okay, let's look at it this way. Let's say that we're both wrong. Let's say Logan Paul doesn't win. Let's say LA Knight doesn't win. If you take those 2 out of the equation, is Damian Priest your pick?
Probably. I would say Damian Priest is probably... I honestly would pick Damian Priest over Logan Paul.
Yeah. I can see that.
Especially if Finn wins.
Yeah. Yeah, if Finn wins, then there's a real interesting situation with Priest.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, we're going to agree to disagree, and we're going to find out. If you're listening to this on Friday, you're going to find out tomorrow who wins the men's Money in the Bank. We'll go, we'll see what happens after that. All right, first person to climb the ladder, both feet on the rung. First person to climb the ladder.
I'm going to say Logan Paul.
That's what I was going to say. Here we go again. First person to touch the briefcase.
I'm going to say Logan Paul.
I'm going to give that honor to Damian Priest. Time before first touch of the briefcase. I'm going to go 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. I went 8.
That's probably a little much, but on my end, not yours. First person to get hit with a ladder, swung or thrown at.
Probably Ricochet, I would say.
I'm going to say Santos. How many times, plus or minus 1, is the briefcase touched?
I said 6.
That's the number I was going with. Who is the last person to touch the case and lose? I'm stealing Sam Roberts' answer here because I like where his head's at. Last person to touch the case and lose is LA Knight. That's how you get it.
Whatever. Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul's the last one to touch and lose. I'm sick of all this everybody has to face adversity crap. I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it.
All right. Number of aerial moves in the match. Good grief.
Well, Ricochet will have like 12 by himself.
I know. So in the women's match, I said 10 in the women's match. What'd you say for the women?
8.
Okay, so we got to go more than both of those.
I said 14.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll go with 12. That's too low. Nope. 16. Most wrestlers on the ladder at once. 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, or all 7.
I said all 7.
I'm gonna go 5 to 6 because I think that's a spot where 6 of them are on it, and then either Ricochet or Logan Paul does some springboard craziness and knocks people off, whatever.
Yeah.
Is the announce table broken in this match?
Yes.
Absolutely. Logan Paul does a frog splash off of a ladder through the announce table.
Yeah, I agree.
Faux show. All right, we saved the main event for last, and we know we're running.
Did we do the move from the top of a ladder?
Oh, I missed that. Move from the top of the ladder, yes or no?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, show. All right, we saved the main event for last. Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa against the Usos, the Bloodline Civil War. Man, lots of rumors running wild about how WWE wants to end this match. We don't know. Saying shocker, saying I don't know, man. We have said for weeks that we can't figure out how this is going to end. Do you have any inclination, like in your thoughts about all of this? Like, where's your gut tell you right now that we could head after this?
Honestly, I think we could be heading to Jay and Roman.
Okay.
I think there's a path to heading to Solo and Roman.
Okay.
This early. Honestly, though, I think this is where the bloodline completely fall apart. And what I mean by that is I don't think Roman and Solo are going to be together after this.
Okay.
And I think Paul Heyman may not be with Roman at the end of this. And I'm not saying Solo joins his brothers. I think that he may go off and do his own thing or whatever happens. I could see Roman turning on him and beating him down. Here's the thing about Roman, though. Everybody turns on Roman. Roman doesn't turn on anybody yet. So that could continue to happen with Solo turning on Roman in this match. Maybe join his brothers, maybe not. I don't know. I think it's very interesting that the last promo the Usos cut was about Paul Heyman. Yeah. So I think Paul Heyman's going to play a massive role in this one way or another.
Okay. I don't know, man. I really don't. I think this goes several different directions. I don't think we're at Roman versus Solo yet. I don't know where you put that, but
that could be WrestleMania.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like I don't know. So you're saying the bloodline literally is over at Money in the Bank? Legit over.
I could see it happen. I could see it happening. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think there is. I think that's a very, very likely thing to happen.
All right. So if we're picking it here on the scorecard, you're picking a winner. Who you picking?
Picking a winner. I'm picking the Usos. I think the Usos get the job done.
I'm going to go Roman and Solo. And here is, and I'll give Sam Roberts credit where credit is due. And if you guys are listening to this and you listen to Sam Roberts, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, this is not my original idea. This is what he said. And I think it makes all the sense in the world. Roman wins this match by them tying up Jay and absolutely annihilating Jimmy.
I could see that.
and making Jay watch it all.
I could see that.
And I think Roman makes the fall on Jimmy by submission. I think he guillotines him and chokes him out.
I think that I could absolutely see that happening.
And I think he makes Jay watch it all. And then at the end, after he's choked Jimmy out, he uncuffs Jay. He gives Jay the chance to join him again. Say, hey, the spot's still open for you. There's nobody holding you back anymore. And then Jay super kicks Roman. And we head to Jay Roman at SummerSlam.
Well, I think we head to Jay Roman at SummerSlam.
But you think we get there in a different way? Okay.
I think we get there a different way. And here's what I think. I think that spot could happen.
Okay.
Of Roman tying up Jimmy. Or tying up Jay, beating up Jimmy.
Yep.
I think Jay breaks free. I think they take Solo out through the announce table, whatever. I think this ends with stereo super kicks, a double Uso splash, and Jay Uso pins Roman Reigns.
Wow.
And we head to SummerSlam with Jay and Roman.
Wow. I like that.
Because there's a way for Roman to get pinned, not lose his championship. First time since 2019 that he's been pinned. That obviously gives Jay Uso the right to go after that world title.
Yep.
And that's how we get to SummerSlam.
All right. If you're fantasy booking this and Solo's turning on Roman, because that's one of the categories here. So let's not pick that category, but let's just say for giggles,
right,
that Solo's going to turn on Roman. How's that going to happen? What do you think?
I think, let's say this happened. Jey Uso gets the pin. Jay and Jimmy are back up the ramp, celebrating, throwing up the ones, whatever. And Solo is in the ring with Roman, and Roman is just irate at him, belittling him, yelling at him, blah, blah, whatever. And Solo just has enough, and Samoan spikes him and maybe beats him up a little. I don't know. He leaves the ring, makes his way up. Jimmy and Jay go to embrace him, and he just walks right past them and makes his way all the way to the back. And that leaves Paul Heyman up in the air as well, too.
Well, I was getting ready to say, I think with Heyman, I think you could have a situation where, like,
Heyman falls after him.
I was going to say where Roman is, like, belittling Solo, and Heyman steps in the middle.
Yeah.
Tries to stop Roman. Then he gets out of the way, and Solo takes out Roman, and then Solo and Heyman walk out together.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting because if you watch the interactions with Solo and Heyman, like I think back to SmackDown when Solo was facing Sheamus, and the way that Heyman was walking with him in the backstage hallway and all that kind of stuff, he doesn't look at Solo the way he looks at Roman. It's totally different. And it's really interesting because Paul Heyman doesn't do that, not on purpose. Paul Heyman knows exactly what he's doing, exactly what character he's portraying. So it'll be really interesting, man, to see how all this unfolds.
Because I think he could look at Solo as his next meal ticket. And being so, he was with Brock. He saw there was more money to be made with Roman. Now he could be looking at there's more money to be made with Solo by himself and could be forcing this whole thing.
Could be. Oh, man. All right, so I'm picking Roman choking out Jimmy. Your final pick is Jay pinning Roman to win the match, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Who has the most near falls in the match? Is it a tie? Do we go Roman and Solo or the Usos?
I'm going to go Bloodline.
I'm going to go Usos for most near falls. Number of super kicks in the match.
I went 13.
I'm going to go 8. I think that's a little low, but I'm going to go 8. Number of spears in the match. The number is 2.5. Do you go over or under? The half is really going to get you on this one.
It is. I'm going to go over because I think both Usos are going to take one, and I think there might be a spot where Solo accidentally takes one.
I agree with that. Yep. I'm going over as well. Unscheduled Anoa'i family member
man.
appears. Yes or no? So we're talking Rikishi. We're talking Alpha,
Sika,
Ika. We could be talking Jacob
Dwayne.
Fatu. We could be talking Dwayne. Like possibilities are endless.
They're calling it the Civil War.
For that reason and for the fun of it, I'm gonna say yes because I've been begging. I've been begging for another member of the family to show up for some time, and I think
we need Rikishi involved. We need Rikishi involved at this point.
Why are we not getting Rikishi? Yeah, let's get him. All right. Solo Sikoa turns on Roman Reigns at any time. It does not have to happen in the match. It can happen afterwards. Yes or no? It's tough.
I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go yes.
Okay. I'm going no. I don't think it happens yet. I don't know when it happens, but I don't think it happens just yet.
But I wouldn't be a Pipe Bomb Wrestling podcast without me bringing this up one time while we talk about the Bloodline.
Good grief.
Every decision they make is pouring more and more salt in the Cody losing at WrestleMania wound. It honestly is. Like, could you imagine what this would be like if, let's say, the scenario happens where Jay pins Roman, Solo turns on Roman, and Roman is literally by himself with no tribe, with no titles, nothing. How much more interesting and impactful that would be to the Roman character than anything else at this point.
See, I think we're getting there, but I don't think it's time for that yet. Like, I honestly, man, like, I'm the opposite. Like, I think those titles, like, there's still story to be had with his family falling apart and him having the titles. I don't think it's as impactful if he doesn't have them.
I think it is. I think it makes this whole thing more impactful. To me, it does, because it literally is what Cody said before WrestleMania coming true.
Sure, it is.
And I think that makes this whole thing more impactful than what we got.
Sure, it is. But it can still come true. We can still circle back.
Yeah.
Cody can still be the one to fulfill that prophecy and take the titles from Roman when he's all by himself and all he has left is those titles and Cody takes them away from him. He can still do it.
He can still do it. I just don't think it'll mean as much.
I get what you're saying. He can still do it.
I think, as of right now, in this moment, I think we are still heading to Cody beating Roman for the title.
Sure.
Like, I think I would be shocked if we got Roman and Solo at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think that could happen at the Rumble. And then we get Cody. I don't think Cody needs to win the Rumble to get this Roman match, but I think we are heading to Roman Cody at 40. I said it the night it happened, and until I see something different, they had lightning in a bottle that never happens, and they literally opened the lid and just dumped it out, is what it feels like.
Gotta face adversity, pal.
No, you don't have to face adversity. Oh my gosh, I hate the adversity argument so much. I don't need the broken arm. I don't need all this other stuff that we're going through. Just win the daggum title.
Oh my goodness, you're right. It wouldn't be a Pipe Bomb Wrestling podcast if we didn't bring that up.
I haven't talked about Bray in months, so I got to talk about something every week, and it's Cody not winning at WrestleMania.
It's a good point. Lots of rumors floating around about Bray. Hopefully, we'll get to address that soon. Maybe that'll come to fruition and we can talk about it. Keep it locked in right here at PBW Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you're following the show. Andy's at Andy_PBWP. I am at Chris Belcher 24. We are available wherever you find your podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, Sportswire Radio. We're available on our YouTube channel. So like the show wherever you are listening, subscribe on whatever platform you on. We don't care. We just want you to support the show. We would appreciate it very, very much. Speaking of our partners over at WrestleBuddy, Andy, I don't know if you know this or not, but coming up on next week's episode, your boy, the host of this show, will be on the third episode of Let Us Talk to You, the WrestleBuddy podcast, as we recap Money in the Bank. They have invited me to be part of the show next week, so I will be special guest spotting on that. So go check it out. It's on the WrestleBuddy YouTube channel. They've dropped 2 episodes so far. Episode number 3 will be next week. So I will be part of that. Very excited for that. Also, Andy, season 2, week 11 of the PBWF is live on another feed. Go check it out. It drops on Tuesdays. Tyler Peters does a great job hosting it. Man, we're inching ever closer to that lethal lottery on the halfway point of season 2.
I don't want to talk about it. I'm already annoyed with the adversity stuff. I don't want to talk about. And Logan Paul winning Money in the Bank. I don't want to talk about lethal lottery. So just keep moving.
Oh my gosh. Love it so much. But seriously, fantasy booking show that we do every Tuesday on another feed. Make sure you go check it out. It is a lot of fun. Coming up next week, Andy, we're going to review Money in the Bank, of course. We're going to talk a little bit about yours truly taking a bit of a hiatus from the podcast. That is going to come sooner rather than later. So don't get used to me too much, even though I'm every week. Going to be taking a hiatus soon. We'll talk more about that in the coming weeks. Next week, though, Andy, after we review Money in the Bank, we are going to build your perfect wrestling superstar. Talked about doing it last week. It's coming up next week, taking attributes from other wrestlers, putting them together to make your perfect one. And it's going to, we discussed Mount Rushmore earlier. A lot of that stuff's going to come up next week when we talk about this.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun because I feel like we're going to have 2 completely different wrestlers.
We 100%
because we different styles, we like different things, but we appreciate the greats, and I think it's going to be really interesting because I feel like yours is going to lean more old school, mine's going to lean more new school, and we're going to have a mix of both, but I feel like we're going to lean one way or the other a little bit more. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that.
It will be a lot of fun for us to do that. So make sure you catch us next week, wherever you find your podcast, and on our YouTube channel if you want to see our smiling faces. All right, that is going to do it. Thank you guys for hanging with us on this extra long episode. Listen, gripe with WWE and AEW when they put on pay-per-views. That's what causes these really long episodes. It's their fault, dang it. All right, for Mr. Andy York, my name is Chris Belcher. This has been the Pipe Bomb Wrestling Podcast. We will catch you guys down the road.